All right. It is 5:30 Eastern Daylight Time by my clock, and therefore it is time to launch. So, thank you all very much for joining us here at the Evergreen Conference. We're going to have a brief update from our development community, and then I'll say a few closing words, and then I will free you all to the rest of your lives. So, just as a reminder, this session is being recorded and captioned. I've just put the caption link in chat. And a final thank you to our platform sponsor, Equinox. That's my employer. Our platform sponsor, Evergreen Community Development Initiative, and our caption sponsor, Mobius. So over to the developers.
So I will get us started. And some of you may recognize, I'm Jason Boyer. I'm System Administrator at Equinox. Some of you may recognize me from such hits as I Guess It's Time for That Meeting in IRC and the food guy at the conferences. But I've been an Evergreen developer for some time. But for some reason, someone thought I should be involved in putting this together for you all, and I did what any sensible person in my position would do, and I asked for some help. So with me today are Galen Charlton and Jason Stevenson, and we're going to run you through some updates to what's been going on in Evergreen development since the last conference. And I will hand it over to Galen. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, folks. My name is Galen Charlton. I'm the implementation and IT manager at Equinox, an Evergreen developer and a committer. And what I would like to do first is to run us through some of the numbers of the development accomplishments this year. But I want to first start with an acknowledgement and a general kudos. Last year, of course, was hard for many people in the community. And of course, we've all been working under the shadow of a global pandemic that has affected us all to various degrees. It has changed for many of us where we work, the way we work, our ability to get out and socialize, is of course has led to the cancellation of 2 in-person conferences. But then it has also led to a lot of the things that have shown the strength of the Evergreen community. The 2 canceled in-person conferences became online conferences that have effectively allowed many more people to go to an Evergreen conference than might otherwise have been the case. But another thing, and this actually honestly came as a surprise to me when I was putting the numbers together, this has been a surprisingly productive year for the Evergreen project. Since our previous, since the last conference in 2020, when of course, the pandemic was well underway, we've actually managed to cut 3 major Evergreen releases and a number of maintenance releases. So Evergreen 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7. And I think I would just want to say that we both, deserve a collective pat on the back for actually managing this under very difficult circumstances. And also an acknowledgement that an achievement like this is going to be inherently bittersweet for a lot of us, considering the circumstances. So thank you for indulging me in this aside. So if we look at other ways of numeric measures of contributions, since the 2020 conference, we've had over 800 commits in the main branch. 35 people who've authored patches, 59 who have tested and signed off on patches, and a total of 20 OpenSurf and Evergreen releases. And one of the things I would like to call out is, some of this we're at the mercy of our tools. We don't have a tremendously easy way to get these sorts of statistics from our bug tracking system, but it's easily in excess of 100 people over the past year who have contributed by submitting bugs, by commenting on them, by wrangling other bugs, and this is something that the Evergreen developers absolutely rely on to make progress with the code. We conducted 2 bug squashing weeks, community efforts to stare these mean bugs in the face and squash them. And I want to give a special shout out to Taryn McKenna of the Georgia Public Library Service, who has been our fearless coordinator of Bug Squashing Week, as well as Feedback Fest. So here are the numbers from the 2 Feedback Fests we collectively did as a community. And I can't make any grand pronouncements about this being unique, but I think it's safe to say that the Evergreen project is at least special in the way that we, bring together coders and people who are not coders in these collective efforts. So it's and I think one of the things that I always do with these presentations is they're often titled the Evergreen developer update. I always make sure that that the slides are titled the Evergreen development update, because Evergreen development is not the property or not the sole property of Evergreen developers. It belongs to the entire community. So we've here's a slide of the names of the people who we know participated in Bug Squashing Week and Feedback Fest. Apologies to anybody who was missed. And I also want to acknowledge the people for the 3 release teams. And noting that in 3.6 and 3.7, we've been experimenting, and I think reasonably successfully, with larger release teams. So I want to give a call out to 3 people who have done, to my knowledge, and again, apologies for any omissions, who are new code and or documentation patch authors: Chris Burton, Lisa Carlucci, and Owen Leonard. And I want to give a particular shout out to Chris Burton, whose first effective code contribution was not a one-line bug fix. It was a whole flipping, OPAC skin. So thank you, for that, Chris. Um, and since this is a small list, I want to give a shout out to Lisa Carlucci, sorry, who's Equinox's new executive director, and who has provided some documentation work, but also to Owen Leonard, who we were able to successfully borrow from the ECOA community, for a bit to also work on the Bootstrap, OPAC skin. So, just to recap some of the highlights of the three releases. We have the Mark editor ported to Angular. Evergreen 3.5 learned how to age or anonymize all the buildings. By the way, big shout out to all of the Evergreen libraries who have gone or considered going fine free in the past year. Which has absolutely nothing to do with Evergreen development, but is something I want to call out. Another aspect of Evergreen 3.5 was Postgres 10 support. So for 3.6, again, the Bootstrap OPAC, many changes to the Angular staff interface, acquisitions, authorities, booking. The Angular staff catalog is now default. I would like to give a shout out to Jane Sandberg for spearheading the new course materials module for Evergreen. And other interfaces include Hopeless Holds, the improved OPAC email and print, and of course our direct nod to the pandemic, the curbside pickup interface, which potentially may have a long life even after the pandemic is fully dealt with as as a service that some libraries may choose to continue to offer. For Evergreen 3.7, we have Shibboleth single sign-on integration, horde groups, more work on the Bootstrap OPAC skin, single word search suggestions. So misspelling your search term is no longer an excuse for failing to find your material. The ability to sort the OPAC holdings page by geographic proximity, library groups, and the read more accordion. So the future is, of course, yet to be determined, but we know that the march of Angular will continue, including acquisitions interfaces, and with any luck, the Angular volume copy interface, which I guess I should call the call number item interface, but as well as tidying up some of the loose ends with the Bootstrap OPAC to make sure that we don't have TPAC only features. So with that, I will turn it over to Jason to talk about some of the internal plans for internals we have.
All right, so I'm here to speak about one thing, and I'm not here to tell you what we gave you. I'm here to tell you what we took away. So some of you may be surprised to learn that Evergreen had the ability to be programmed with Python and Java on the back end. This code's been in there a long time, hasn't been kept up to date. So as of Evergreen 3.7, it is gone. The reasons for removing it were that the code was obsolete in a number of ways. It's not been maintained or kept up with the features of either Python or Java. And over the years, it wasn't updated. The OpenSurf side got a few updates over the years. The Evergreen's code had not been touched since 2012. Also, this code didn't really work. The Java code has not been able to be installed for a number of years, probably going back to 2014 or so. It stopped being able to be installed without a lot of tweaking. The Python code would usually install, but it was hit or miss if it would work. I believe on Ubuntu 16, it didn't work, but it started working again on Ubuntu 18. Depending on what Linux version you're using on your servers, it would either work or not. All this code's also optional. There was nothing else in Evergreen or OpenSurf that required it. We also had no known projects outside of Evergreen that used it. There's a project called Syrup, some of you may be familiar with. It was written and used Python, but it did not use Evergreen's Python. And there's also the Android app some of you may be familiar with from Ken Cox called Hemlock. It's also Java, but it doesn't use Evergreen's Java. We polled the community in a few emails. No one in the community indicated that they made use of either one of these. And finally, no one stepped up to take over either project and update it and maintain it going forward. So we decided to remove them in 3.7. The code is still sitting. It's been removed also from OpenSurf. It's there in 3.2. We don't recommend you even try to use it. It will likely be gone. It's been removed from the main branch and will likely be totally gone in the next release, likely to be called 3.3. And I'll pass it over to Jason Boyer now.
All right, thanks guys. So another thing that we've been doing a lot of here lately is some code cleanup. If you're using Evergreen as a client, well, a client, as a library staff member or as a patron in the client, that is to say, you might not notice some of the very copious logs that are building up on the server as you do that. So one of the projects I went through last year was to kind of go through and see all of the stuff that is just Perl complaining for the most part, and tried to fix as much of that as possible, asked for some other help and examples of things that we can silence without actually hiding any problems. And I think that just recently made it in, so 3.8 system administrators should have a little bit less going on with their disk space, which would be nice. And we're also looking to do more of that just in general, not just logs, but anytime there's a complaint, the browser console should not be full of warnings and errors and things like that. So anything that you see like that, feel free to bug it. It may not be causing you an actual problem, but trust me, there are some of us who would like it to go away anyway. And also, with the update in dependencies and moving the staff client from AngularJS to Angular 10, it might sound like a lot of work, because now we have both Dojo, not both, all of these things. There's Dojo, AngularJS, and the new Angular in the same staff client. But in moving the AngularJS parts to Angular 10, we're avoiding basically having a second dojo, since AngularJS as a project has basically been end of lifed. So moving things to the new Angular will help, for one thing, make the client easier to add on to and work with, because it's a better framework than the way we were using AngularJS. And also it's still supported, which is kind of nice. Something we would like to stay in the good graces of, so to speak. So hopefully all these things going forward will keep Evergreen running smoothly and without any real concerns about things disappearing out from under us in the future. So that's where we're at with our development update. And I think that I will hand it over to Andrea, who's got some closing remarks for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Galen and Jason. It's really awesome to hear how much the community has accomplished in what has been a very difficult year and change. We can go ahead and leave your screen share up because I don't have slides. I have a sticky note. I've done plenty of slides this week. So one just a couple things before we go. The first is the annual report. So I am dropping this link in chat right now to the annual reports page. As of today, the last day of the conference, as is tradition, the annual report has dropped. You can see that on that webpage. There's an online version and a printable version. And we did a little bit different format this year, bigger text, bigger pages, try to do more graphics. So thank you very much to Rogan Hamby and the Outreach Committee for putting together this beautiful visual display of all the things we've accomplished in the last year. So feel free to read that, share it, tell the world about all the great things we managed to do. There's a lot of cool information in there. Second of all, if you're not exhausted of Evergreen stuff this week, if you want to, in fact, put together all the things you've learned this week, there are developer and documentation hackfests being held all day tomorrow. I don't think there's really an official time for them, but the rooms themselves will be open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. I would expect during kind of core business hours, people will be in and out, but feel free to come by either or both of those. It is a separate registration for Hackfest. If you haven't registered for that, I don't actually have the link handy. So if one of my intrepid committee people wants to grab that Hackfest registration link and throw it in the chat, that would be super. That's free. And if you want to come hang out for another day, that's just a way to kind of hang out informally with everybody. A few other closing items. There will be a survey sent out at some point, probably fairly shortly after the conference, asking for all of your, for feedback. And we do this every year and compile the results and use them to inform future conferences and report back to the Evergreen board. So please keep an eye out for that. We'd appreciate your feedback. The recordings will all be posted for the sessions that were recorded. Those will all be posted to YouTube along with the transcripts within the next couple of weeks. So those will all be up there in more or less perpetuity. So if you had that Sophie's choice of, I can't decide which session to attend in person, well, you can now go back and catch that other session that you wanted to see. Let's see, what else is on my YouTube? On my sticky note about YouTube. Oh, slides. Slides have been posted. The ones that we have been posted on the program schedule page. They'll also be posted with the YouTube videos. And if you're a presenter and have not sent us your slides, please email those to the conference list. And finally, just thank you. Thank you all for helping make this a success. I know we had a little bit of some technical hiccups, but we're collectively as a community really good at dealing with that kind of thing. So thank you to all of our presenters and speakers and moderators. Thank you to our captioning team that has been giving us live captions, which are always appreciated, but especially when some attendees are having audio issues. And thank you, of course, to our exhibitors and our sponsors for making this a successful event. And last but not least, thanks to the conference committee for building this plane while we were flying it. And you all have earned a well-deserved long weekend ahead. So, and that's it. That's all I got. I don't have any other parting words. So hopefully the next time we see each other, hopefully we'll be seeing each other face to face. So thank you all. Have a great evening. And thank you for everything you do for the Evergreen community.